So let's see how we can make our first shell script and submit this to the Slurm queuing system. First of all, I have logged in here with the terminal, MobaXterm this time, and I also have RStudio open here on Orion, right? So I have these two windows into the RStudio and the terminal. We typically have this both open all the time when we are working on Orion. And then here I also have this module 2 document open. And let's have a look first at this module system, because it says here that you can read this, but let me show you here. The software which is already installed on the system, on the Orion system, are installed as modules, as we call the module system. And to see which modules are available already installed for us, we can use this command here, and it will list all installed software in alphabetical order. So you use the return button here to scroll down, hold it in to scroll it down. You can see it's first those starting with capital letters alphabetically, and then with lowercase letters alphabetically. So this is the ordering. So you can see quite a lot of software here, but not super much though. Here is the software we will use now, FastP. And notice it has a name, that's the first before the slash, and after the slash is the version number. And in this case, FastP is only in one version. But you can see, for instance, this software here, XPath, I'm not sure what it is, it comes in multiple versions here. Many different versions available. So you can decide which one you want to load, right? So when you load, as we say, a software, making it available for running, you should use the whole, not only the name like this, but the whole path here, or the full name, you could say. So you can also, we can load it like this, but before we do the module list, I can just quit this here now by typing in Q, then you quit this scrolling. Module list. This will now list the modules who are already being loaded. And you can see there are only two sort of softwares that has been loaded, and that's the Slurm and Slurm utils. These are always loaded because they are needed for placing our jobs in the queue, as we will see later. So let us now load this FastP software, and I can actually copy from here. So if I copy this one, and I go here and right click with my mouse, then it's pasted. Module load this FastP and this long version number. Then we should load this software. And then we can run the module list again to see that now we have FastP loaded, but also a number of others. Can you see that? And this is quite typical because this software now requires some other softwares, and these were also loaded now. So by loading a single software, you typically load multiple of them. And these are the dependencies, as we say, of this software. So now we are ready to start using this software here. And how can we check if it's ready for use? Well, we have to try to run it, type a command that will run it. And then you have to know how do you sort of invoke that software. Well, in this particular case, I happen to know that the simple command FastP itself is enough. And typically we use help or something like this to look for her, to get some help text listed. Let's try this. Yeah, this is working. So if the FastP software was not loaded, we can, for instance, try another fastqc command not found. Right? This is the name of another software that we did not load, right? So this is what you see if you haven't loaded your software. But FastP is loaded, so this works. And even without any further input, it will give us this help text. And this is very valuable. We will come back to this. We will not dig into this help text now, but this is really very valuable because this is how we learn how to use the softwares actually, by studying these help texts. So we will do that a little bit more later, but not today, because there are other things that are urgent now. So we should now be able to make ourselves a Slurm script. And here you have the sort of the standard template. And here is the one we should use. So what we do now, we make ourselves a shell script, which is a text file with this content here. So let me just copy the whole chunk like this. Copy. And then I take it to RStudio. RStudio, right? And new file, not RScript this time. You're used to that, I suppose. But now, if you go down the list, you will find shell script. RStudio also makes shell scripts. And here we can now paste. Here is the paste. Yeah. Paste command like this. And notice that, yeah, and we should save the file. And I'm sorry, I haven't made myself a module2 folder. I should do that, right? Module2 folder, because now I'm in module2. I want to store the files that I have in this module2 folder. And here is nothing yet. If I go to RStudio and refresh the file view, it should show. It doesn't show until you refresh it, right? And if I click down to module2 here, there is nothing. But now I want to store this file. And now save as. And I want to save it in the module2. And this is something you really need to be very careful about now. Be sure you know exactly where you save your files. I say this with some emphasis because I know that some people never learn this. You need to be sure that you know where your files are saved, right? So please make sure you know exactly where your files are being saved. And here you can call it whatever you like. I call it FastP. And then a shell script must always have the extension .sh. But I think RStudio will actually do that for you if you forget. Let's test that. I forget to add .sh now and save. And see here, RStudio added it, .sh, because I opened this as a shell script, right? I asked for a shell script and then RStudio, but normally you would add this extension yourself. So now I can go here and list the content, and I can see this has now appeared. Notice how RStudio colors the text because it recognizes shell code. So it can color it. And that's nice. Yeah, okay, so this is now the script. I will not go into the details here now because that's in my document, so you can read about it. Why do we create these shell variables and so on? And what is actually done here. But yeah, okay, basically here we have the heading. This is always there because we need to have it to submit it to the Slurm queuing system. All these SBatch lines. And the first 3 lines we never change because this is for the Bin310 cores. We always use one node and we use this reserved partition here. But the rest we may change. Number of tasks, that's the number of threads, right? So we now reserve 10 threads. We reserve 10 GB of memory, and we say that this should maximum run for 1 hour. If it's still running after 1 hour, kill it, because then it's something wrong. Then we can add a job name, and that is a text that you decide yourself, this text here. And this is something which it's a good idea to give it a name that you know what means, sort of, because we will see when we look into the queue that this is how you sort of locate your job. And then we also specify the log file, and this is where the output from the software will end up. And this is always a good idea to also have. I usually use the same text, right? So I can recognize the log file in case I have many of them. And this %J will now be replaced by the job ID number. So in case I run this software many times with the same name here, right, and the same text here, each new job will at least get a new number here, so I can separate the log files from each other. Yeah, then I load here. First we kill all previously loaded software, but there is no, right? But okay, you can have this or delete it if you. But we usually do this because we want to sort of wipe the slate clean before we start loading something. And then we create some variables here, and including where are the files that we are going to look into, and where do the output end. This is the output files. And then we run the software here with these variable inputs and outputs. No post-processing this time. So that's my script saved and so on. Nice. Then I am in the same folder, right, where the script is. And in order to make this run now, I use the following command, sbatch, and then the name of the script, like this. Sbatch will take the script and submit it to the queue. And you can see it gives an output, submitted job, batch job, and this is now the job ID. This is the job ID. Now I can look into the queue to see if it's there with the command sq. If I only type sq like this, let me do that, you will get the whole queue, all the users. You can see there are many jobs running from many users, lots of them, right? So this is hopeless. I only want to see my jobs, right? How can I do that? Well, then you use the option U and your username. In my case, it's like this. Like this. Only list the jobs in the queue belonging to this user. And there is actually none. And the reason for this is that this is probably already done. Because this job is such a small and fast one that it's probably already done. And how can we know that? Well, first of all, let's see if there are some new files here now. Yes, there are. And we can go into RStudio and do the same. We can refresh here and see there lots of new files have appeared here now. And the first one I would look into is this one, the log file. Notice the log file, right? We can see it here as well. Here it is, fastp underscore, and then the job ID, right? This number, .log. This is the first file I would look into. And this should be just a plain text file, so I can just click on it here in RStudio and open it. And this is the output from the software. And if there is something wrong, if it crashes, it usually starts with an error message here saying why it could not run. But it looks promising because there is no error here. And if I scroll down, I can't see any error. It usually is sort of a text starting with error and then some explanation what happened, what went wrong, right? So this looks promising. It looks like it was working and completed its job. And of course, we can see because we got all this output, other output files, this worked, right? But always look into the log file first to see if it's not always very informative. And I mean, even some softwares produce no log file at all, as long as things work. So the log file is simply empty. But that's a good thing if the log file is empty. If there's an error, it's not empty. So now I can actually delete this. I do it like this in RStudio, delete, yes. The log file I don't need anymore. Here are now the output from this job. But let me, I want to see this queue. So let me run the software again, and now I'm a little bit quicker to list the content of the queue, right? This was how I listed the queue. And you can use the up arrow to repeat previous commands. So here was the way I started it, right? And then I started like now, and then I immediately list the queue. And now you can see the job is running. It got a new job ID now. It's in the bin 310 partition. The name is FastP. The user is, and this is really a bad thing because the SQ command lists as a table, you can see, right? But the width of this column is too small. So I don't see the whole username because my username is so long. We will see how to fix this in the next video, I think. It's running because it's an R here and an ST for status. So it means it's running, and time, it has been running for 1 second when I listed this. Here you can see the nodes, and it's running on a node called CN18, which is part of this bin 310 partition. One node, and the node is CN18. Yeah, so this is what you look for, and sometimes it says PD here for pending, meaning it hasn't started yet. It's in the queue waiting for resources. But once it starts, the time starts running here. So you can see how long time your job has been running. And if it has been running a very long time, longer than you should expect, then you will have to be a little bit suspicious. Could there be something wrong here? And if you want to cancel a job that is running, if you think, there must be something wrong here, then you use the scancel command and then the job ID here. And if you want to copy here in the terminal, you just highlight like this. There is no Control C or whatever. You just highlight it like this, and then you go to where you want to paste it and press the right button. That's in the terminal. It's different from other windows. No, just highlight the text that you want to copy and then right click. It will be pasted again. So this is how you would cancel a job that is running. Now, I guess this job was already done before I run the scancel, so nothing really happened. But a running job will then be killed. And that's something we need to do from time to time because we discover after we started the job that this is not really doing what we expected it or wanted it to do. And instead of just waiting for it to be finished, we should kill it immediately. Okay, so now you should go here and do this yourself. And we will have a look at and you should have a look at these exercises and do do a little bit more than we did here.